Have you ever tried a katsu sando? Juicy and crispy breaded pork cutlets topped with delicious katsu sauce and sandwiched between soft Japanese bread. You've got to try this. I'll teach you how, so stick around.
Aloha mai kako, my name is Relle and welcome to my kitchen where I like to share all my favorite local and Hawaiian recipes. And today we're making this delicious katsu sando. Sando is like the Japanese way of saying sandwich. You can do pork, chicken, totally up to you. Today we're gonna do like a tonkatsu style. So let's get started. So I got thin cut, cooks a little bit faster. You can get the thicker one if you want. There wasn't boneless, so I bought the bone-in one. We'll cut that out obviously because we're gonna make a sandwich and you don't wanna like bite into that, right? And then I took the pieces that only had like that small piece because there's a couple of different cuts that come in. I bought like the mix pack and I'm not a butcher, so I wouldn't be able to tell you like which one, what do you call it? Pork chop comes from where and what. But anyway, the one that had the least amount of bone in it, that's the one that I'm taking for this shot. So that bone comes out. So now you got a nice thin cut piece like this. And so this one has a little bit of a bone in it as well. This one comes into the meat a little bit more. So we might end up with a little bit of a smaller cut for this one, but that's fine. Try to get it as close to the edge as you can. And actually, this one might have to, we can just let that little piece hang off. So not the best, but you know what? You make do with what you have, right? And that's kind of how things go. If they have it, great. And recently with the market and how things are, sometimes it's so hard to get things, especially here in Hawaii. Most of our stuff is imported, so it takes time. Anyway, regardless, this is the katsu part of the sandwich that we'll be making. So I'll move this off to the side really quickly. And then we're gonna set up our dredging station. So you'll need 3 plates. So the first plate is gonna be flour, regular all-purpose flour. And to that, you're gonna wanna add some garlic salt. I like to add it to the flour. You could, if you wanted to, season the meat. You could even put it in the panko, but I find putting it in the flour is what I like. When you put it in the panko, sometimes it burns because it's on that outside piece. So first plate, flour, garlic, salt, pepper. Second plate, egg. And the egg acts like glue, right? It goes into flour so to like seal that on, and then you dip it into the egg so that the panko mixture. Panko is Japanese style breadcrumbs. If you don't have that, can you use regular breadcrumbs? Yeah, you can, but I like panko so much better. I generally buy the fine panko. This is the regular one because there wasn't fine, and I went to the store. Usually I send my husband to the store and he comes back with all kinds of crazy stuff. This was me going, and like I said, make do with what you have. Totally fine. So you're gonna mix that up a little. And in my pan, I have regular vegetable oil heating up. You can do canola, avocado oil. We're gonna shallow fry this, right? So you're gonna take your pork chop and you're gonna put it into the flour first. Now, katsu is a Japanese style food, right? It's not Hawaiian. However, the Japanese had a big impact in Hawaii when they came to work on the plantations. We had the pineapple and the sugar cane, and they brought all their yummy foods. And probably Japanese food, I would say, has the strongest impact on not even native Hawaiian, on local Hawaiian cuisine today. Things like poke and katsu and ramen and all those other things are still huge parts of Hawaii today, right? Flour, and then into the egg. Oh, almost overflowed. I was like, oh, I'll just use the small, plates because it'll fit on camera better. But it's like barely, like the pork chop. The other one will be okay, but this one like barely fits. And you shake off the excess and then into the panko. So you want to cover as much of it as you can. I actually didn't even pour enough into this plate. We're gonna probably use all of it on this piece. So once it's covered like that, you'll go ahead and put it into the hot oil. If you wanna test your oil to see if it's ready, one way is you can like drop a piece of panko in, and I'll show you. So we'll do it over here, right? So you drop that and you see how it bubbles. So this is the piece that I dropped in, right? It bubbles, it says it's ready. The other option is you can get a chopstick. I don't even have one, that's good. But you can get a chopstick and put it in and it'll bubble around the chopstick. Let me grab a little bit more of the panko. We'll dredge this up and get it frying, okay? Got a little bit more. And then same thing, flour first to lock it in, then egg, and the flour has this seasoning on it, remember? If you don't like garlic salt, you totally can use regular salt. Drip off the excess and then into the panko. And you kind of give it a push down to really adhere that extra to it. I'll probably just put a little more over the top. All right, and then we'll get that one in. And you don't want to crowd the pan too much, so I wouldn't go much more than this. You're gonna fry this up until golden brown. It'll take a few minutes, then we'll flip it over, fry it, and I'll show you how to put together this sandwich for the perfect katsu sando. So it's been about 4 or 5 minutes on this side, so we'll go ahead and flip that over. And you see how you get that nice golden brown. And another 4 or 5 minutes on this side. Cooked pork, 145 is safe temperature. We'll let this go for a little bit more and then I'll show you how to assemble the sandwich. All right, 3 or 4 minutes on this side. It's thin cut, so it's done quicker. If you got the thick cut, it might take a little bit longer. Remember, as long as you get to that 145, you're good. Drip off the excess oil and then you're gonna put that onto a paper towel. That'll just help soak it up. The other option is you can put it on a cookie sheet that's set over. Sorry. Ow, not fun. Okay, talking about like splattering, I'm gonna move this off onto the stove so it doesn't smoke up. Hold on. So as a kid, my mom and my grandma my grandma liked to cook, my mom liked to bake, and I tell you, those two women, they always get burned. Like my grandma and my mom always had from grabbing something in the oven. That just really made me think about that because the oil splashed onto my arm. Just in fact, we had a party the other weekend and my mom was here and I told her, Mom, what happened? And of course she had the burn mark on her arm and I was like, good golly. Anyway, okay. Side note, sorry, that made me think about that. Don't you just love moms? They're amazing. Anywho, okay, sandwich part. Sando, sandwich, that's the Japanese style. So this is Japanese style wheat bread. This one's actually made in Hawaii. This is from Latour. Check them out. You can use regular bread. The way we put this together, and this is actually wheat. I normally get white, but I bet you can't guess what they didn't have. They didn't have what? They only have wheat. So that's okay. All right. So, bread. Some people like mustard. I'm not a mustard fan. If you like mustard, go get them. Put some mustard. So, in Hawaii, it's best food all the way. Like mayo, you gotta make sure you get good mayo, right? So, on to the bread. We're gonna do a smear of mayo. I guess, do I really need to tell you how to make a sandwich? I mean, like this step. If you don't like mayo, that's fine. You can leave it out. This is just a suggestion. Okay, and then you want to get some katsu sauce. This is homemade katsu sauce. If you want to check that out, I have a recipe on the blog and I'll leave the link in the description box. Super easy to make. If you don't want to make it, you can totally buy store-bought too. So let's call this the bottom, right? We'll put a little bit of the katsu sauce. It looks like this. It's like a ketchup Worcestershire sauce. It's common in Japanese cuisine and they use it with katsu, hence katsu sauce, right? Spread that around like that. I like to put this on first because it kind of acts like glue to stick things together. And then some shredded cabbage. You don't like shredded cabbage, leave it out. Totally up to you. But you'll put that into the bottom like this. I'm not the biggest fan of cabbage. No, I take that back. I love Kahlua pig and cabbage. If you want that recipe, I'll leave that in the description box below as well. Or you can click the link up here. But I don't know, maybe it's the texture in a sandwich. It's kind of interesting, but cook down, me, no big. Okay, then the katsu we made, we'll go ahead and put that on top like this. So this size, perfect. The other one is a little bit bigger, yeah. And then we'll put a little bit more katsu sauce on the top piece of bread. Spread that out. And the signature look of like that Japanese style sando or sandwich is no crust, which my daughter would absolutely love because she's constantly telling me, Mom, can you cut the crust off? And I'm telling her, just eat it. Most of the time I give in. Who am I kidding? So this is a serrated knife, as you can see. Great for bread. All you're gonna do is trim off. Do you have to do this? No, like I said, you don't. But traditional, like Japanese style of these sandos, they cut off the crust. And okay, Are you team cut your sandwich, not cut your sandwich? Do you cut it like in half, like, what would this be? Horizontally, vertically, whatever, or diagonal? I don't know. Let's go diagonal this time. I feel like it's more of a fancy look. Let me know in the description box. Do you cut your sandwich? And if you do, how do you cut it? Right, Japanese style katsu sando. Ready? If you like this recipe and you want to check out more, then check out this video here. I've got chicken katsu, and that is a perfect trade-off for pork if you don't like that. All recipe instructions and ingredients are in the description box below. Cheers! Making a mess, but so good.
Thank you for watching my mom.